Hello everyone, welcome to Tangle with Tracy Anne. In today's video, I'll be doing some negative painting using organic tangles, and these are all by Zentangle Incorporated. I'll be using this Zendala Tile and some Winsor & Newton watercolours. You could use whatever watercolours you have. And you can see I've added a drop of water to some of them, and I'll be selecting these browny autumny tones and maybe a little bit of blue and green. So first of all, I'll mix up some watery paint, and I'm going to start with this larger brush, and it's a size 12, and I'm going to paint the whole tile using a watery colour. Just completely cover the tile, and once I've added, this is a yellow ochre, I'm going to drop in a couple of other little bits of colour. I'm going to drop in some sap green while that paint is still wet, and a little bit of turquoise, and then I'm just going to let that run into each other. Let it drip into other colours, maybe add another little bit of yellow ochre there. You can see that the tile is warping a little bit, but that'll go flat again once it's dry. And if you get too much paint and it's pooling, you can just wipe a little bit off with your brush. So just let all that move how it does, and wait until it's completely dry. So I'll be using this Micron 01 brown pen and a size 3 smaller brush for the rest of the painting. It's taken a while to dry. I'm just going to dab a little bit off with my tissue, and you can see it's creating that nice texture. If I start drawing on this before it's completely dry, and I'll test a little bit here on this paper just to show you, it gets a little bit furry, so don't be too impatient, let that completely dry. Now I'm going to start off with Icanthus. So we draw a stem and some branches, and once we've got the branches drawn, on the end of each branch I'm going to draw a little leaf kind of a shape. Next, I'm going to add some little C shapes or U shapes just near those leaves, and this will be where I join them all up again. So once I've got those little shapes in, I'm going to do a little wavy pattern. It almost looks like a holly leaf shape, and join all those lines up. Now you can see where these corner type of areas are. I can add just a little bit of colour. So draw a triangle shape and colour that in. The next tangle I'm going to draw is Toodles, which starts with a stem, two little shapes like fescue, and then we go around the whole thing with that leafy kind of a pattern. As I add more tangles here, I'm not overlapping them. That's really important for this first layer. So now I'm coming in with Rixty, and It's a nice vine kind of a tangle. Again, don't overlap any of these shapes at this point. At the end of this Rixty, I'm going to finish it off with a little bit of a zinger. Another leafy pattern is poke leaf. It's very simple. You can see I'm still not overlapping these patterns. I don't want to completely fill this whole Zendala tile, but I'm evenly spacing all of the tangles. And to finish it off, I'm going to add a little bit of muka. Using my size 3 brush, I've mixed up a little bit of raw umber, and so it's not terribly thick, and I'm going to paint the whole background. And this is what this negative painting is. It's not painting your actual shape, it's painting the space behind it. And you can see now why I didn't overlap any of these shapes. It would have made it a lot more complicated when I started painting. Be very careful as you paint around these. You don't want to go over the lines if you can help it. It's easier to paint the small areas first, but when you come to these larger areas, you have to be a little bit careful that you don't get any watercolor blooms, and that's, you can see the edge there, it's starting to happen. When your paint dries and then you've got a wet edge next to it, it will form that hard edge. So go back over it with your brush, or you can soften the edges with just plain water if you need to. It won't matter too much for this project because we'll be putting layers one on top of the other. If you do happen to go over the edges, get a clean brush, clean water, and just go over where you've gone over the lines, and then dab it with a tissue or a piece of paper towel, and that will keep it nice and clean. Once that is completely dry, you can go in and draw some more tangles. Now this time it's okay to draw it as if it's sitting behind another tangle. As you draw these tangles, it's okay to sit behind the ones we've already drawn, but don't overlap the tangles we're drawing on this layer, because that will complicate the painting process. Now that I've drawn in those tangles, I'm going to go in with a light red, and again only paint the background. So I've got smaller spaces now because of the new tangles that I've drawn in. You don't need your paint to be too thick here. This is quite a strong colour, so it looks thicker, but it's still quite watery. Each layer will be just a subtle change from the one before it. Again, once that's dry, go back in with the brown Micron and add some more tangles. You can draw these behind any of the tangles that are already there, but don't overlap the ones that you're drawing on this layer. That way, when you do the backgrounds, it's so much easier. I know I tested it out, and I was overlapping tangles as I drew them, and then it got very complicated on what I was supposed to be colouring. On this layer I'm using a burnt umber, and it's not looking too much different to the last layer. We'll just paint a little bit and see how it goes, and if it's too light I can just thicken that paint up slightly. That paint doesn't look strong enough, so I'll thicken it up a little bit, and that looks a lot better. I've just noticed that I've put my fingers in some paint and smudged one of my leaves a little bit. I'll have to fix that up in a moment. I used some plain water, and you can see there it's taken a little bit of that brown pen off. I'll just add a little bit of yellow paint to this just to fix it up, and then once it's dry I can go over it again with my brown pen. You can see that this icanthus here, I'm thinking it's a little bit wide, so I'm going to add that little bit, it's almost like slicing it off, and just paint over that section. And it won't matter if it looks different to the background layer, it'll just look like it's another shadowy plant in the background. I'm adding just a little bit of that yellow colour, yellow ochre, to these bluey leaves. I like the blue shining through, but I just want it to be a little bit more subtle, so I'm just blending a little bit of yellow in with it. Not that much that it affects the negative painting technique too much. I'm thinking this needs a little bit more contrast, so I've tried to add a little bit of black pen and I'm liking that a little bit better. But I think I need to just put some more tangles in so that I retain a little bit of that brown colour. If I were to just go over that layer with black, it seems a waste of the brown. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here and colour the background with my black pen. You could of course use paint. Now I've got my brown Micron and I'm just going over some of the lines to define them a little bit, especially the ones that I did in black, because I probably should have drawn them with a brown pen instead of a black. You find the darker layers a little bit hard to see, but that's the finished result. You could of course use any colour you like. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, do that so that you don't miss out on future videos. Until next week, stay safe and bye for now. If you'd like to see more of my videos, head over to my YouTube channel, or there are a couple of links here on the screen, and there's the subscribe button.